Live.
And, and now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the main card with your man, The Voice. As always, in the opposite corner, my Mano Imano, my verbal sparring partner, my partner in crime, the one who is also enjoying the levity of this inside joke. None other than the Iron One, Wildress Ruff. And what's going on, Ruff?
We we live, voice.
Yes, we
Live.
are.
We live.
And we were told we were live twice.
It's smoking clock. Tuesday is 7:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but y'all will be all right, man. We got a great show for you. We got some good things to talk about. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, the voice. How you feeling today, sir?
Oh man, I am amped. I am amped. I've been like just ready to go all day long.
Yeah, we got some amazing things to talk about. Some kind of breaking news, some revelations that apparently happened, and just some great things, man. So let's go ahead and get into it. KOs and low blows.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
voice, your
Mm-hmm.
man, Francis Ngannou
Mm-hmm.
is signing with a major promotion after one drop with another major promotion. So
Mm-hmm.
we had confirmation that he was in talks with one. However, we recently received confirmation from one that he was actually asking for a seat at the board of directors. He was asking to
Okay.
determine his opponent's pay, and that they offered him 20 million guaranteed, and the money wasn't enough. He wanted all the other non-financial terms that did not make a lot of sense. That was the quote. So, voice, what are your thoughts on that breakdown, and where are we expecting to see Francis Ngannou step in and fight?
Wow. As far as that breakdown, there's a saying within the community, the MMA media community, that you really can't trust what comes out of Chatri's mouth. Today one talks about how it's in billions of homes, but there's no transparency regarding things. So saying, hey, I gave you all 20 million and all of this and all that, and he wanted more. I don't know. I don't know how truthful that is. Number one, I don't know that one can give him $20 million, honestly. So it is what it is. What I've heard is that he came to the table saying, hey, look, I got this offer in hand. Can you beat it? Now, maybe what they were doing by saying that, hey, asking for 20 million was putting all his business in the street. Because maybe that's what he's getting from whoever else he's in talks with and supposedly going to be signing with probably sometime this week, which that's foul. You don't put somebody else's business out there like that. But either way it goes, he should be signing with someone soon. Really can only land in one or two places. I suspect the place that he will land is the place that we saw around, what was that? Was that Christmas or Thanksgiving?
We actually broke that news on main card, and we talked about the potential for it. I believe Ngannou was sitting with someone that his mother was actually wearing the shirt. So if you remember the episode, definitely go back and take a look.
Yeah, because the deal is supposed to include boxing as well as MMA, and knowing that PFL is on ESPN Plus, they could do the boxing in. Maybe they worked out something with Top Rank where they did it together. I don't know. But if that's not it, then only other place it could be is Bellator. And Bellator is what makes the most sense because they actually have people there who can fight. If they PFL spent $20 million to get Francis in, that's great. And that's great publicity. But who's he going to fight? They still will have to get someone for him to fight. Whereas Bellator has fights that he can fight. Also, they're a Paramount company, so they can work with PBC, who's on Showtime, and do a fight that way.
Well, one of the things that we did learn from Ngannou previously was, and he stated this previously, that money was not a factor for him. For him, it's literally about making the best fights and for him doing the things that literally excites him. And he's talked about a couple different bouts that he really wanted to do. Of course, as a fighter, that's always going to be your first love, and he'll ultimately come back to that. But for a person like that who has already done so much in the sport, now it's literally about legacy for him and him doing what sets his soul on fire. So that'll be interesting to see. Make sure you continue to tune into main card. We'll, of course, announce it on KOs and Low Blows once we get that confirmation from him. And also make sure you check MTMV Sports because you might see a little surprise there if that news breaks earlier. So make sure you stay tuned. Now, moving on from Ngannou to what Oscar De La Hoya is now calling the new king of pay-per-view. Oscar De La Hoya is proclaiming Ryan Garcia as the new face of pay-per-view following his successful mega fight against Gervonta Tank Davis last weekend on DAZN and Showtime pay-per-view. Now, the event pulled in approximately 1.2 million buys from U.S. audiences, and De La Hoya feels that Garcia was the reason for that success. One thing that De La Hoya continues to point out was that Tank had only hit 200,000 buys on 7 different occasions. But with Ryan's help, Tank, who went on to win that fight via TKO, hit 1 million plus mark on pay-per-views. And Ryan is one with the youth following, not Tank. Voyze, does Oscar De La Hoya have an argument here? Or is he just kind of just throwing smoke
out? There's an argument to be made that without Ryan Garcia, that the fight would not have done as well. As a matter of fact, that's not an argument. That's the truth. If it were not for Tank fighting Ryan Garcia, the pay-per-view would not have been, anything. And 200,000 for a pay-per-view, I think, is generous for Tank, because he just really wasn't pulling like that. They were saying he was a pay-per-view star, but he wasn't. And this was a pay-per-view bonanza. We talked about it last week. The zone broke. It literally shut down because they couldn't handle the volume coming in. This is not their first pay-per-view. They've had pay-per-views with Canelo for quite some time. Never an issue like this. So De La Hoya has something to say as far as that's concerned, but we can't say that it is solely because of Ryan. Mm-hmm. It's because there was finally a fight that people wanted to see. Come on. Even the last couple pay-per-views, specifically the second one where it was a joint deal venture between PBC and Top Rank, when Deontay Wilder, which there's some breaking news about him, we'll talk about that at the end of the show. When Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury, they only did about 800,000 buys. So to do 400,000 more is huge. But I think it has more to do with the fact that it was a fight that people actually wanted to see. And that's the reason that it did as well as it did. Not necessarily because it was Ryan. Yes, Ryan had something to do with it, but it was more so, can Ryan beat him? And is Ryan really, that dude? So from that perspective, yes. And really what it should do going forward is make sure that whenever Tank is fighting, he's fighting someone that people want to see. If you do that, if you make fights that people actually are interested in, they'll buy it. Novel idea.
Makes a lot of sense. But you also understand, too, Oscar De La Hoya is literally trying to sell a boxer who many feel as though he kind of left out to dry after the last fight. But we'll see exactly how that's going to play out. Oscar De La Hoya, of course, has made a career of selling fights and selling fighters. So that was kind of an interesting fact. But it seems to be like, come on, man. Like, after the bout, and then you weren't even there for him post-fight.
She should have been there. Who was it? Bernard said that there was some political negotiations going on that kept him from being up there. It was like, his father's on the dais. There's no room for you now. And because of the whole touching his back deal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Oscar, that's a whole nother story.
Well, it's interesting because you're seeing after the fact that Ryan seems to be making a lot of changes. So we're going to see exactly how that's going to play out. Also, remember the statements that Canelo also made recently. So we'll get into Canelo a little bit later. But, hey, that's something to consider. Now, when we come back from this quick break from Ozell, we got one legend who may be looking to hang him up, one legend who's returning, and one legend that's looking to do a little rehabilitation to his career. We'll be right back.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand. It's a lifestyle.
Shout out to Ozell brand, man. Welcome back. If you have not gotten you a pair of Ozells, you're missing out. Voyze actually sent me a video fresh in his black and blues a couple days ago, out here just stumping with the big dogs and his Ozell. Make sure you get you a pair. Also, they got cleats, so them colorways is nice out here. Voyze, let's go ahead and get into some of these amazing bouts that we have now. Win or loss, one of the greatest mixed martial art careers may be coming to an end when two of the best of the flyweight division meet in a trilogy bout for the flyweight title when Demetrius Johnson meets Adriano Moraes. So it's going to be Mighty Mouse versus Black Diamond. Oh, yeah, I'm ready, Voyze. This is what ultimately may be their final matchup, which is going to take place May 5th, 2023. This is going to be at the First Bank Center in Broomfield, Colorado. Now, while Johnson has stated that physically he could perform at the top of his game for a few more years, going out on top in a great fight is a hard appeal to look past. And it's something many fighters haven't had the opportunity to do. Johnson actually called this out recently when he stated, "I'm going to sit down, and after the fight, I'll have to divulge more on my train of thought on this stuff. I'm 36 now, and I've accomplished everything in this sport. So when I look at my counterparts like Khabib, or when I look at George, they walked away from the sport, but they could have kept fighting. And that's the thing too. It does not have to be on top. And I'm at the point in my career where I'm satisfied, and I can truly say that I'm satisfied to the point where I can still fight, but there just has to come a point in time where you got to think about that and end it." Now, his opponent, who you can almost say is a legend himself, he's a flyweight monster out there. He agrees with Johnson. He stated that he speaks highly of him, and he feels that he has nothing left to actually prove in the sport. But he also believes that while they're trying to make history, he's planning to be victorious. So he said, "First of all, I never imagined that I'll be fighting Demetrius Johnson one day. So for now, I just have a few days to make our third dance, and this is unbelievable. I just want to win this fight, make my career, do it again, and make my family proud." Now, while Johnson may feel like there's a few things left on the table, he's had an amazing feat of literally, I found out he has the most consecutive title defenses in UFC history. He defended the UFC flyweight belt 11 straight times during his run. So, Voyze, with the end of the trilogy ahead, and his most recent statements, many believe in win or loss, he's going to call it quits. I got a 3-part question for you, and I know how we got to do this. First, what's the best direction for the flyweight championship with a Johnson win and loss?
Okay, so what's the best direction for the flyweight championship? Next up, I don't quite understand the question.
Of course, next up, but Voyze, okay. Let's say Johnson wins. If Johnson wins and he vacates the titles, who should we see next up?
Gotcha. Okay.
Who should Moraes be fighting next also?
Okay. Now we're cooking with gas. I got you. Okay. As far as who's next up in one championship, that's a great question because they don't have that many people over there, and I'm not. I don't know who's next up, honestly. shame on me, but I'm I got to tell the truth. As far as win or loss with Johnson, I think win or loss, he's done, and he should be done. Again, who might be up next at bantamweight? I'm trying to find out right now. That's why I'm kind of saying all the stuff I'm saying. But and you have to remember, with one championship, it's not bantamweight. It's actually flyweight. Their flyweight is just at a different weight. Ooh, now I'll tell you this: with some of the people that are out there, I know, and some of these people are going to be fighting on this card. You have people such as Rod Tang out there. Love to see that. Mike Moose, I am not Mikey. That's what we're gonna call him. Mikey Moose. It's some other stuff, some other Italian stuff. He's gonna be on the card defending his one championship grappling title. Seeing him fight for the championship, that would be phenomenal. So, again, it's next up. It's whoever's next up. I think one, in being wise, like they only have like 5. They only rank 5 fighters. Wow. So it's just whoever they've got up next. Now, what was your next question?
Now, the last two-parter to this is not only where do you rank this trilogy in combat sports history, but what will Demetrious Johnson's legacy ultimately be, no matter what?
All right. So as far as the trilogy is concerned, you really can't say history. Let me step aside for a moment, since he's got the picture of DJ there with all his belts. Let's talk about his legacy really quickly, since that picture's up. He should be talked about in the GOAT category. You said it. No one has had more consecutive defenses of their title than Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, and he's done it in style. When he beat Kyoji Horiguchi, he just messed around and said, okay, it's 10 seconds left. Let me see if I can finish him, and finished him with 1 second left in the fight. At 24 minutes, 59 seconds, stopped the fight. The only person, or I should say the next person to come close to it, all they can do is tie him. You can never have a finish that late in a championship fight again without mentioning Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Messed around, did the Mighty Wonder Bar on Ray Borg recently. I mean, not recently, but a couple years ago. And I know recently, that's what I was trying to say. Ray Borg and Kyoji Horiguchi were supposed to fight. But yeah, he just did a suplex and then an arm bar in the middle of the air. It's like, what is going on? Again, this guy should be in the talks for the best of the best because of all these things. No one's done it. No drug issues, none of that. So he should be talked about in that GOAT category. Now, as far as what was the second question again?
Where does this trilogy rank in combat sports?
Yeah, combat sports wise, that's hard to say, because when you say combat sports, you have to include boxing. And there are very few mixed martial arts trilogies that I don't even know if they crack the top 10. So I'm going to say, as far as the MMA trilogies are concerned, this would be probably about 3 or so. You have to have the Iceman and Randy Couture. That's got to be number 1. Number 2 could be GSP and old boy from Millsdot, who got hit by the train. I can't think of his name right now. Matt Hughes. And this will probably come right after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not put it in a great place, especially when you consider what each fight is meant. I mean, just to wrap it up, in both their legendary careers, both Johnson and Moraes have taken KO losses only once, and that was to each other in bout 1 and 2 of this trilogy. So
right, and both by flying knee, as you can see on this image. So that's why I said it'll probably be right up there with like number 3. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it definitely feels like a major thing. I mean, both of it, and you wouldn't even know it by the way everyone talks about Johnson. But him and Black Diamond are literally a year apart as far as their age. So that's some legendary stuff. We have to make sure we appreciate these type of things, because once these fighters are gone, they're gone, and then you're clamoring for that in someone else. So definitely excited to see what that is. Mighty Mouse definitely had a great career. I know we're talking about him in past tense, but I mean, he's mentioned everything from acting to doing other things. So for me, it sounds like this is probably it. This is one of the main things that he's mentioned. So that's definitely going to be exciting to see. Make sure you are tuned into Twitter, because the Voice is going to have your play-by-play and your out-of-pocket comments. You know what's going to happen.
Well, I will have that. Not necessarily for this fight, but I will have that.
Definitely. Now, up next, we're here to bless y'all. The Voice's marquee matchup. Voice, tell us this week's marquee matchup and why it's this week's marquee matchup. All
right, so within the liners for the show, I said I was putting a special twist on the Voice's marquee matchup this week. It is officially what you see on the screen: Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. That is Voice's marquee matchup. The reason I'm putting a twist on it is because we talked about this in depth last week on the show. And when I went back and I listened to the show, I was like, well, everything else to talk about. I mean, we talked about everything. So it is the Voice's marquee matchup, and it is that reason because of everything I said last week. Just to gloss over it a little bit, if the winner of this does so in spectacular fashion, they very well may leapfrog whatever that guy's name is, Mr. MAGA himself, Kobe Covington. Yes, they could leapfrog Kobe and face Leon Edwards next. So that's why it's the Voice's marquee matchup. If they do what they do, then it can turn out well. I'm concerned about Burns because this is the 3rd fight this year for him, and we're in May. And that doesn't happen in combat sports, not at this high level. You usually don't have that many fights in a row unless you're in the PFL tournament. So I'm a little concerned about that. Here's the twist, because again, we talked about it last week. I got a bonus marquee matchup for you. So you have Bryce Mitchell and Movsar Evloev fighting each other on the main card. This is a featherweight bout. They're both like right outside of the 10th rank in the UFC, and it's a lot of folks that are out there that they need to keep fighting to get up into the upper echelons. But because it is so close, that's the reason that this is Voice's marquee match, because these guys are up next. Movsar is undefeated. Bryce has only lost once, and he lost in a fight where he was supposed to be fighting Movsar. That fight didn't take place. Unfortunately, he fought Ilia Topuria, another one of those ones that's hanging right there in the lower half of the top 10 at featherweight. So again, whoever wins this fight is going to be phenomenal. Bryce is and Thug Nasty, let me call him by name. Thug Nasty is a grappling machine. Movsar, he's just one of those gritty, grimy fighters that's going to get the job done. The one thing that does concern me about this fight, as you can see on the screen, is Thug Nasty's shoulder is purple. And it's not because he got some dye on it, because you can see his hair. It's still the dirty blonde. I mean, it's purple. How is he going to be able to fight with obviously, such a notable bruise? How is that going to impact his wrestling game? Because he's wrestle heavy and jiu-jitsu heavy. Is he going to be able to go in for those takedowns and be able to use his arms to do the things that he really likes to do? I don't know. Again, Mozart is gritty. He's grimy. He's a decision master. So if this one stops early, it's probably because Bryce got the job done. If it goes to the decision, then more than likely Mozart is the winner. But should be an excellent fight. That's why it's Voyze's marquee matchup.
Sounds good. He looks like a Marvel character with that purple shoulder. I got a 2-for-1. A 2-for-1 Voyze's marquee matchup. That normally does not happen.
No.
So those are two great bouts. We are looking forward to those. Pardon me. That Marvel character thing is really weird because it really does look like he got some ooze on him or something, and he might into something, and that's going to happen into the ring. Now, when we talked about a legend returning, this one has been going on and on for the past few weeks. Now, I'm going to butcher this man's name because I already know I just said his name correct before the show started. Henry Cejudo. No. No.
There's a D in there. Cejudo.
Cejudo.
Close.
You know what? I was there, and I even said that was wrong. Now,
yep, and you knew it. You good.
I knew it, man. I'm blaming the producer. Man, he's been gone from the octagon for 3 years. But talking about his return voice, you would never know it. He's preparing to fight Aljamain Sterling this Saturday at the Prudential Center in the main event of UFC 288. Now, the 36-year-old who last competed in a title bout win at UFC 249 stated that he is returning as a hired hitman for UFC. He recently stated, I see Sterling as a Benjamin. I see TJ Dillashaw as a Benjamin. I'm just here to rob the bank, and that's a reality. That's how I feel, and that's what I'm going to do on May 6th because Aljamain's just not at my level, and I love it. As a matter of fact, UFC actually hired me as a hitman to take this dude out. Did the UFC really want to give me a title shot? No. But Henry, you're stylistically the best matchup, and we want you out there. I'm like, all right, let me put my gloves on, and I'm going to go out there and get the job done. Now, while he has been working as a trainer in his time away, it's completely different than being in the octagon with a champion like Sterling, who's currently on an 8-fight win streak. But his trash talk did not end there, Voyze. He said in every sense of the word, power, speed, experience, grit, technique, just all that. Even the looks. I'm just better than every guy. Aljamain knows I'm the guy out of everybody on the whole roster. Whether he wants to say he's going to put me out in 2 rounds, I don't deserve it. I'm letting you babysit my belt. He knows that I'm just the toughest matchup stylistically, and I know he knows what I'm capable of doing. This fight does not go past 3 rounds. I'm not impressed.
Okay.
Now, Sterling, meanwhile, is literally focused, and many actually believe that with a win, he could actually enter the conversation of the greatest bantamweight of all time. But he's not really focused on that. He's literally looking off to finish off Henry and send him, as he stated, back into retirement. He stated Henry can say whatever he wants. I think I've shown that even if the world is against me, I'm going to fight back. I'll chirp back, and nothing is going to get inside my head, and nothing is going to deter me from doing and believing what I believe in. I think after UFC 288, Henry's going to disappear into the darkness again, going into the abyss, depending on how bad he gets his whooped. That's what I really do think. Now, the back and forth banter actually culminated with something that went viral on Twitter with the two meeting at a hotel, and it was kind of awkward. With Aljamain basically stated, "Listen, I'm glad you're back, but I'm sorry I have to crush your dreams." Now, many of Henry's statements recently have come off as if a victory is almost a guarantee, even after that three-year layoff. Now, many of his detractors believe that his time off will be an excuse for a loss. But Voyze, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on his comments? And considering he was still a great trainer in retirement, how much should that 3 years play into the narrative, win or loss?
It should play. It plays more into the narrative with a loss. Taking time off can be excellent for your body as a fighter. You know, not going through the all the rigors of camp, but because he was training high level fighters. Let's talk about some of the people that he trained while he was out. He trained Pitbull, Patricio Pitbull. He trained the champion, the strawweight champion in Magnum Jean Wei Li. Now he wasn't rolling with him, but he also trained what's the heavyweight champion's name? John Jones, that's his name. Trained him as well. So he's been in there with some of the best. Oh, and did I mention that he also trained DJ? Yeah, he's been training him as well. So he's been in there with some of the best, sharpening his skills. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. You've been gone for 3 whole years, sir. And though you did win and surrender your title, you did it to a declining Dominic Cruz. You beat a declining Marlon Moraes. The wins that he had most recently they have not aged well at all. And on top of that, you have been a athlete, high-level athlete, Triple C for a reason, because he's an Olympic champion and he's a dual champion in the UFC, both at flyweight as well as at bantamweight. Now, he talked about TJ Dillashaw. He was on dope, so it is what it is. It was a split decision loss to DJ, who then went on to keep beating people. So yeah, I think he's just being himself, talking a whole lot of head, and we'll see what happens. Because yeah, Aljo is huge.
Yeah,
he's absolutely monstrous size wise, and he's got like he looked like Cejudo is his son, literally. So yeah, we'll see. And their weight difference for a reason, and Aljo's gonna come in way heavier than Cejudo, because there won't be any rehydration clauses in this main event.
Yeah, when you actually see the hotel video, Osman's literally kind of towering over him, so you can definitely see that difference between the two. Now, it's interesting to know, and it may even play a major factor into it. Before retirement, Cejudo had been on a 6-fight win streak, like you said, with his last fight defending that UFC Bantamweight championship, actually vacating it on May 9th, 2020 at UFC 249. Sterling would go on to win it a little under 1 year later at UFC 259 in March of 2021. So the story writes itself, and like Cejudo said, he babysitting it. So we're gonna see how much talk is gonna be there, because Aljamain looks focused, and I've seen his last few fights and his last few pre-fights and how he's prepared. It seems like this time he's got something crazy to prove. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, the main event, the legend that we were speaking of, that's literally looking to rehabilitate his image, and this is something that his camp said. Now, Canelo looks to return to the ring for the first fight since September 2020. His win over Triple G, where he actually faces UK super middleweight John Ryder in Estadio Akron, Guadalajara, Mexico. Now, while the bout is being billed as a homecoming for Alvarez, there are a number of things that can almost kind of play against him, as many are kind of believing that his focus is not fully on that bout with Ryder. Now, among them is a potential rematch with Dimitri Bivol, the man who literally gave Alvarez his second loss and caused many to question how great Alvarez truly was. Now, since that bout, Alvarez, he's kind of stumbled so far, depending on who you ask. But he's been fully focused on gaining that rematch, which he can do with the win over Ryder. Now, Ryder, which many are not giving him a fair opportunity to win, of course, but he sees this as a great opportunity and all a part of the timing for an upset. And he recently stated, it's a great opportunity that has not been gifted. I've worked hard at this for years, and I've suffered highs, the lows, the bottom of the barrel, really. With this, I firmly believe that it's all about timing, and I'm looking to surprise Canelo. Now, with many believe in Voyze that Canelo's focus is solely on the Bivol rematch, which he even talked about during his open training session. How much should we be worried about a possible upset against Ryder? And while we know where he goes with the win, what happens with a Bivol rematch if he loses?
So, as far as his focus is concerned, if he were not looking past Ryder, something will be wrong. Here's why. Ryder is getting this fight. And he said, I've earned it. And he's earned it by being around and being in the right place at the right time. Tell me the last time you've heard of a fighter in boxing, because it's not MMA, in boxing with 5 losses fighting for the title. Now, I don't remember the guy who fought Bud last, or I should say what his record was, but I think it was better than 5 losses. I'll just say that, look it up. I'm fairly confident it was better than 5 losses. He's in the right place at the right time. Canelo needs a soft touch. This is, I'm coming home. Like you said, I'm coming home to Mexico to fight. And I want to give the people a show. So who is the least dangerous person I could find that the governing body will sanction for me to fight, so I can put on this show for my people and get a warm up to help with building my confidence, which he really shouldn't need any confidence builders unless he really just believed that Triple G couldn't do anything for him. Because after that fight, it was like, okay, well, he's back. He's back. But if his camp is saying that it's a soft touch, and okay, I guess he needs more confidence to go into the fight with Bivol. But if that fight happens, he should have a bit more confidence, because it won't be at 175. It will be at 168. So, it is what it is on that. The second part you asked was what again?
With a loss.
Oh, yeah.
What happens with that rematch?
It's a done deal. It's a done deal because Bivol is talking about, I want it at 168. I want to come to where you are and take all your junk. Well, if he ain't got no junk, then there's nothing to take. So, yeah, a loss would be catastrophic for Canelo. Catastrophic. Because the only thing he could do at that point was fight a rematch in September against Ryder. And that will probably take place in the UK, which won't be a problem. He's traveled to the UK a number of times to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's actually they actually recently stated the number of British fighters that he's fought. He's undefeated, but many feel like if he were to lose, John Ryder would be the person that he would lose to, which
I don't understand. And this is the reason why, and this is why I said let's find somebody the sanctioning bodies will allow me to fight for this every time. Or let me not say every time. When you look at Ryder's record, whenever he's fought someone of note, he's lost. He lost to Billy Joe Saunders, who Canelo knocked out. He lost to Callum Smith, who Canelo destroyed his arm, made it look 3 times bigger than his other arm. If he were to lose to Ryder, catastrophic.
With the way they're depicting Ryder's losses, Voyze is as if they were all close and that they could have went a different way. So maybe it's how they're depicting the losses, as if they weren't as bad, so that we can have the potential upset. But I mean, if Canelo's not fully focused, we've all seen our great fighters take those surprising losses at moments where they shouldn't have. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Make sure you tune into that. That's going to be May 6th live also. Wow. So hopefully we get that fight. I would love to see him go against Bivol again, but he's been looking shaky. So Make sure, of course, you tune into Twitter.
Shaky against Triple G.
Make sure you tune. Listen, make sure you tune into Twitter as you watch the fight. Also, to get Voyze's take. Voyze always scores the undercard. He checked me for that Ryan Garcia fight. Also, so I can't even say much. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I saw something different. I ain't gonna say Ryan was winning, but I originally saw something different.
Yeah, you really did. You need to go to your optometrist and get. Yeah, you need.
I'm not saying Ryan was winning, but whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us. Another amazing episode of the main card. We are here every Tuesday, 7 p.m., 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. It's smoke o'clock. Before we go out, Voyze has a few words that he wants to provide and even give you a look into some details into next week's fights.
Yeah, so for this week, I already gave you a bonus fight, but there's so many things that are interesting. My Nigerian brother Kennedy Nchukwu is going to be fighting. That one card, ooh man, they're making their debut in the U.S., which is huge, and they pulled out all the stops. Former champions Ong Lao Song, Renner the Ritter, Champ Stamp Fairtex, the return of Sage Northcutt, and they open up with Lowen Tynanis. That card is going to be phenomenal. And then next week, which is what we see, Bellator is going back to the City of Lights, Paris, baby. That's right. With Gegard Mousasi taking on Fabian Edwards, younger brother of the champion, the welterweight champion in the UFC, Leon Edwards. And then also they'll be picking up with their lightweight Grand Prix with Outlaw versus Born to Wheat. We'll talk about all that next week, as well as the UFC's got a card in Charlotte with Rosenstruik versus Almeida. Almeida, they're talking about like he is the next coming when it comes to heavyweight, so that's going to be great. And then you got Janabek, Kazakh style. Janabek is going to be fighting Butler, and then on that same card, you got Maloney fighting for a title. So lots of great fights to look forward to next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Voyze. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Podcasts, we're all over your podcasts. Make sure you listen to us also while you're on the road. Make sure you visit mtmvpn.com. See all our articles, meet the team, grab some merch. Voyze, take us out, sir.
Until next time, fight the good fight.